Hey, it's Heather from the Sunshine PowerCuts Podcast. I'm the host of the Sunshine Summit 2018. Hopefully, if someone can swing by the live chat on YouTube and let me know that you can hear me, because we had some technical issues and didn't have any intro music for this stream. Hey, Bandrew, can you hear me? Hey, Bandrew, can you hear me? Oops, I got it playing back on the thing. Oh, cool.
That was me.
Yeah.
I just clicked.
Cool. I'm glad that you can hear me. Today has been, wow. This is kind of one of the epic things about living off the grid and technical issues, doing live streaming. Things happen. And so I'll just go back to the beginning. I'm Heather. I'm the host of Sunshine PowerCuts. I host a podcast that has two different types of episodes that alternate. Sunshine ones that offer inspiration drawn from nature, and the PowerCut ones where I share stories from off the grid, and I got plenty of content for that now. Today had technical issues, but I was really grateful to be joined by Lo from Lo Knows Media just before, and today, to close out day 2, I have a dear friend of mine, Adam Higgins from Odd Dad Out, and his newly released or created project ODO Voice Productions. And Adam also joined me in March for the Sunshine Summit. So I am really grateful that he's back again. And welcome. Hopefully, welcome. Here you are. Hey, Adam.
Here I am. Yay.
Here you are.
Not as crazy as last time, but
no, we did have technical difficulties last time, and I've just had technical difficulties all over the place. So we've managed to connect, and I'm excited about that. You are an awesome connection that I have, and that we can chat and talk to each other and be here today is just awesome. So for anyone who doesn't know,
always excited to be here. I'm always excited to do anything anybody asks me to do, but especially you said, "Hey, we're doing another summit," and I'm like, "Why didn't you tell me first?" So I'm just saying.
Kind of wasn't.
Didn't hurt my feelings or anything.
I'm sorry.
No.
Thank you anyway for being here again, because it was awesome to have you in the first one, which was my first live event, my first thing, the round of the Sunshine Summit, and awesome, so awesome that you wanted to get back on board this time. And things have changed since March, so I'm looking forward to chatting about that. And Andrew says he is excited for this episode, so thank you so much for being here, Adam and Derek from Sometimes Geek. So
both awesome people.
They are both awesome people. Just going back, just to recap for anyone who doesn't know, Adam and I connected last year, at the end of last year, when I was the curator of the week for the podcast share account. And since then, Adam has been a massive supporter of my podcast and everything that I do. And so thank you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for everything.
Well, I mean, so we've had this discussion in the last couple of weeks of, who both of us feeling like we don't deserve the friendship that we have from each other. Like, I mean, I just did an entire episode basically on that subject, but feeling like you have been such a great friend to me, and I always feel like I have not been, like I said in my whole episode, I don't feel like I've been that great of a friend. But I mean, I go back to last November. I think I mentioned it in the first Sunshine Summit, when I was sick for the better part of a month and a half, and you checked on me almost daily. It's like, "Hey, how are you? How are the kids? How are your ribs doing? All that." And like I said, I don't feel like I deserve a friend as awesome as you, but then you pull the same stuff on me. So what can I say?
Yeah. And now we're best friends and it's all good.
Yep.
One of the things that about those connections and stuff, and about your latest episode that you had, it kind of was talking about that you don't feel like you're a good friend. But I want to talk a little bit about connections, not necessarily being friendships in this sense, because we can connect with a lot of things and a lot of people and be in a lot of places and that. But my thing that I got out of it was that the value that we put on that is different. So some people we will connect with close in personal life, in our personal lives, or even digitally. Mm-hmm. And I am grateful that I am able to chat with you by DM and stuff, because you've helped me get through some stuff when I've been struggling, and you're not too much. Like you're just there, and I know that you're there. And if I do need someone to give me an ear or something so I can chat away and just let my things go. Like this morning when I was having power problems, I had no power this morning, and I managed to get my phone and say, Adam, I'm having a problem. I don't think this is gonna. I'm struggling, and you were just like, it's all good, and it's like that comes first. Get that sorted, and you happily or graciously moved your time to later so that I could let the sun do its job and charge my power up. So thank you for that.
You know, and to a degree, I guess it kind of plays into. For me, it's less of a friendship thing and more of my sort of ideals as far as, you know, I love podcasting and I love everything that I do, but family and home have to come first. And when, you know, you went from literally having to jumpstart your house at one point to oh crap, the generator went down and we're having power issues, and it's like your home and your family are much more important than this. And I will gladly move myself to, you know, accommodate whatever you need to do. And if it came down to this couldn't happen today and we had to redo it another time, fine, because you and your family and your home are more important than this.
I appreciate that so much. I did have to try and jumpstart my house today. Didn't work. So that's where the issue came.
It's still funny. It's still a hilarious story.
Yeah. So just as a part of that, if I can take a little bit of time to do a bit of a self-plug, because today is my podversary of the podcast. So thank you so much for joining me for today specifically to celebrate that, because one whole year of doing the Sunshine PowerCuts podcast is kind of a little crazy. Launched it this time last year in 2017, and I don't know how many episodes I've got up to. I haven't counted. I did a whole bunch of bonus ones when I got really excited about podcasting. And I was like, man, this is so cool. So yeah, I've done a few bonus ones. I've got the Sunshine ones, which is separate, and the PowerCut ones as well. So I think there's maybe 40 of those, or nearly 40 of them. And we've had a few ups and downs where I've had a few weeks where I haven't put an episode out, but essentially it's come a long way. I started with the first 7 Sunshine episodes that I had pre-scripted and ready to go because it was the 7 Days of Sunshine challenge. And then I had some stories from this whole journey living off the grid. And today was a perfect example of when life off the grid kind of makes it a challenge to do the stuff that you want to do, because yeah, I needed power to be able to turn everything on.
Today is definitely going to turn into an episode.
Well, this is kind of an episode, I guess. So yeah, but yeah, it is. It does. It's those things that like that happen along the way are all part of the story and part of the journey. And so, taking it back to my connection with you, I'm really glad that you're a part of my journey too and been along for the ride. So thank you, and thank you for the happy podversary. Congratulations things in the chat. I appreciate you guys. Yeah. So I
was so excited to hear that. They're like, hey, I get to be here for your podversary. And like last time the summit overlapped with your actual birthday.
Yeah.
And I got upset because I didn't know. And I was actually at that time literally getting ready to ask somebody when your birthday was so I could send you something for your birthday as a surprise. And I think I was going to probably ask Emily because I knew she already had your address. And I was like, I'm going to like sneaky send Heather a birthday present. And then I find out the last day of the summit that it was your birthday. I'm like, oh, well.
I'm sorry. That was a surprise for everybody. Yeah, back then it was kind of weird how the timing works out. The March thing, Sunshine Summit, came about 6 months kind of the podcast, and then my birthday week. And so I wanted to do something. What an incredible way to celebrate it with a whole week of connecting with people. I like your mug. Nice mug. I also have a pretty cool
shirt.
mug. I like your shirt. We're ripping the Sunshine PowerCuts today. But I do have an Odd Dad Out mug too that you sent me. So you have sent me something, and I really appreciate that. It's awesome getting things in the mail, and I've got some stickers of yours too. So thank you for that. It's just incredible and blows my mind that you can connect with people around the world and they're generous enough to send you things. And I love that mug. It's so good. It's such a good size for all of the coffee. And we love coffee. Yes. That's something we've got in common.
Yes. It's another connection. Our love of coffee.
Yeah. And you were saying you drink a fair bit of coffee during the day?
I'm a 2 pots a day kind of person. 2 pots of dark roast every day between. And it's funny because it's about 5 o'clock at night here right now. And I started making another pot of coffee, and I actually normally have a pot of coffee going. Coffee. Bleh. Editing. That's what we do. But I normally am drinking coffee this time of night for work anyway. And I don't get affected by coffee, so I can just all day just go.
So you're connected
I'm building up a nice collection. Yeah, I'm connected with the coffee pot.
Yeah. And you was just saying you have a collection of coffee mugs. So can you tell us a few of the coffee mugs that you've collected?
You have the only other one of that particular style of Odd Dad Out mug, but then I got this one because you're awesome.
Thanks.
As soon as I saw you had merch, I grabbed it. And I have one from the story behind, and the very first podcast mug I got was actually Welcome to Night Vale, which was one of the earliest podcasts I got into, and my wife is into, and she got me that for Father's Day, I believe. And then I have I know I have more. I know I have at least one more, but I'm blanking them. I have an Alton Brown one, but he doesn't do his podcast anymore, so he's got a million things he does. So
yeah, the merch thing kind of came about because I wanted to do something to celebrate this milestone of 1 year of Sunshine and PowerCuts. So I made a Teespring store because Bandrew made one for podcasters, and I was like, that's such a cool idea. And then made the mugs and tote bags and T-shirts, and thank you so much for getting, a T-shirt and a mug. The text is really large, so I'm sorry about that. I'm going to do another design round where they're not so big. But
I think it's a good size. I don't see why you say it's so big.
It's massive. Teespring's awkward. But you also have merch for your show. You have Odd Dad Out merch that people can get. And I think it is a fun way of supporting creators that you enjoy, or just having that thing going, I have this really cool Odd Dad Out mug, and I enjoy drinking out of it. It makes me think of you, and yeah, I like to drinking out of it when I listen to your podcast, because it's kind of like I can't be there in person, so that's about as close as I can get.
It's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah,
you're a bit far away.
Yeah, but one day that's kind of one of my goals.
I have podcaster friends that actually live in the same town as me that I've never met. That I'm like, you're literally 5 minutes away, and we don't have that personal communication. Whereas I'm probably closer with you, and you're literally on the other side of the world.
Yeah. Well, one of my goals is maybe one day I can do Sunshine and PowerCuts on tour, and I can come and visit, because there's incredible people all around the place that I've had the chance to connect with, and I think that would be amazing. I have talked about in the past that I want to do a Sunshine and PowerCuts retreat here in New Zealand, so kind of like an off-grid, like a camping experience, really. But that's still that's a big thing that's in the pipeline, and I've done little things on it, so down the track kind of thing.
Yeah. That's going to be the big Sunshine Summit.
Yeah, it will be.
We're all out in the middle of nowhere in New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big camping trip.
Yeah. And then I think in one of the other chats yesterday, there was the mention of me coming over to the States, and how the States is really quite large and you're all over the place. So it'd be like quite a big trip going across and back again. But I've kind of got an idea in my head of how that will work. So I really hope that I can make that happen. I want to talk about a few of the new things that have happened for you since March. So you have just launched ODO Voice Productions. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got into that and what's happening with it?
So, yeah, that's basically... I'm bad at selling myself, but excuse me. The gist of it is I started doing some voice stuff for a couple of different podcasts I voiced, was it Roger Ebert for an episode of The Story Behind during the Clue series. Alex from the Boondoggle asked me to voice a character for an audio drama he's doing and stuff, and just little stuff like that. And as I was kind of doing more of those things, it's like, I really like doing voice work. I really want to get into this and kind of learn more about this. And so I've started kind of exploring getting into the voice acting. Have not, outside of doing a couple, promo stuff for some other podcasts. I haven't done too much into that, but at the same time, I'm also doing podcast editing, and which is an easier thing to break into. It's like I've already been doing that for 3 years. I've got a decent idea of what I'm doing. As my children beat down the door. And I've started working with Emily Prokop from The Story Behind, and she's been so helpful. And I remember she said at one point, I think she posted up somewhere of, somebody, looking to get some side hustle. I could always use help with editing. And I responded, I was like, I'm totally down to help. And she's like, seriously? And it just kind of turned into that. And I've been helping her out and editing, kind of, you could say, subcontractor editor for her for a couple of months now. And, she's been so helpful. She even actually got me connected with Carrie Green from Podcast Fast Track. Mm-hmm. And actually, I have a voiceover demo up on Podcast Fast Track to do intros and things if anybody chooses to use my voice as the sound of their podcast. And I think I even went with that weird radio voice thing when I did it because I'm a dork. But I come from a radio background. My family was in radio generations and generations back. And so for me, it's really easy to turn on the radio voice. Even I've got like a brain full of different characters and all these things, but it's the easiest thing for me to do is to just turn on the big announcer voice and sound like a complete idiot.
It makes it fun. And doing the voiceover thing just back for Emily in the Clue series, that was a lot of fun. I got to do that too. And I loved that she kind of called for people to send in or help her with those kinds of things to get the different character voices and stuff. And she's been quite helpful helping set up the business itself. Like, she's got a lot of experience setting up e-podcast productions, and she's all round a generally amazing person.
Oh yeah, she's been so much help, and she's done all the setup to help me out, and directing me, and because she took a editing class with Steve Stewart from the everything that Steve Stewart does, and he's got the podcast editors club on Facebook and all this, but he does a podcast editors course, and she said a part of that course is also setting up your business and all of that whole side of it. And so she gave me a lot of tips and things, and for when she got into it, and he helped her start her business, and so she's kind of paying it forward with me and helping coach me along, and she's given me tips and suggestions on my editing and things to improve what I'm doing. She even sent me a copy of basically kind of a Excel spreadsheet that she uses to help track her expenses and her income and the expenses, and here's the taxes you've got to pay and and she sent. I told her, it's like, when, not if, when she gets into the Podcasters Hall of Fame, I want to induct her just for all of the help she has given me in helping start my career in this and launch this company.
Yeah.
Which I totally named just like so many things, and just, I needed a name to stick on the invoice when she asked me for an invoice, and so that's what I came up with.
So ODO Voice Productions.
Yep. I was like, I don't know what to name it. And I asked my wife, and she was like, why aren't you just naming it Odd Dad Out? That's your brand. I was like, okay. Make a logo. Spend 2 days between Canva and my own photo editor on my computer making that logo, and feedback from different people. And I ended up with what I have.
Yeah.
And so that's been an adventure.
Yeah.
Slowly, baby steps, growing this. And I've finally... I guess if I'm vague enough, I've actually finally signed my first client of my own. It's not just assisting her. I signed my first client of my own this last week, which is really awesome, to help launch a show coming up soon. That's going to be fun.
Congratulations.
So I'm excited for that.
Congratulations.
Yay, thank you. So I'm really hoping, I'm looking forward to that, and just kind of, and there's just baby steps and trying to slowly grow this to hopefully get to a point where I can not be working overnights and away from home. So it's like, it'd be nice. And it probably won't be until, we've settled down and we buy a house and all the boys are in school, so I don't have little kids trying to beat my door down.
They just want to connect with you too, and I get that, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that, what it takes to be able to participate in something like this, because they are your family, they're really important to you, and yeah. Alan Soundspeed said it's a good looking logo. So.
Thank you.
That's feedback.
I'm terrible with design. My little face makeup design that I use for the show is something I'm pretty sure I've said it 100 times before. It's literally something I doodled on the back of a restaurant flyer when I was like 17. And the original logo for the show was literally just me scanning that picture into my computer. And then I had it professionally redrawn late last year, just so that I could do more with it. And I was like, I want to make merch. I want to do stuff with it. And so I had it professionally redrawn just so I could do things with it. And then when I was making the logo for the production stuff, and I was like, well, and I remember I put it up on Facebook and YouTube, or not YouTube, on Twitter, asking, hey, here's some different versions of this that I'm trying. And Paul from Varmints actually came back and he was like, well, here's some suggestions. And he was like, okay, change this. Like, you really want to make this as your focus and change this thing. And he's like, it's like, get rid of the logo. I was like, but I need the logo. The logo is me. Yeah. The logo is the one thing on there that is kind of, it ties it to me, because that logo you could say has been my personal brand since high school. Mm-hmm. And so, even when I first started the show and was like, I need, album art, and my wife, like, she was talking to her brother, and we were all talking to people about that we knew who could draw, and it was just like, hey, what's can you draw this for us, or could you do that? And she's like, duh, you already have a logo. It's sketched onto all of my little binders because I'm a dork, and it's been in all these places. I literally have like a decorative Halloween skull that I drew that logo onto. I was like, hey, this is how it looks on a face if there was no skin on that face. But here's like a Halloween skull with this logo, with that sort of makeup design on it, which I made the mistake of when I dug it out of the garage. I set it on top of the printer and the door was closed, and my wife walked in and just about killed me. But she just walks in and sees a skull sitting right there on the desk as she opens the door.
Yeah.
And lots of 4-letter words were shouted from down the hall at me.
A heck of a fright.
But yeah.
Like
I said, I'm a friendly troll. And I didn't do it on purpose. I just dug it out of the garage. I didn't even think that was going to happen. But yeah, that logo is just that picture is kind of stuck with me for so long. And I was like, I have to incorporate it somewhere. So I just stuck it at the bottom of the microphone for this. It's just almost like an Easter egg to me in that logo.
I think that's awesome that connection with that logo and with you is really strong, and that you've carried it through. I think, so having something that you identify with and that means that much to you is amazing. I have, similarly, I have a little design that's quite important to me, and it's going to sound real typical and real girly, but like butterflies are a thing that I really like. And I have a particular design that one way it looks like a butterfly, just an outline of one, but the other way when you turn it upside down. So it was kind of an idea for a tattoo, which I never got because I'm too scared to get a tattoo. But the other way, it looks like a fairy walking with her foot out, like she's off on a journey. And so, yeah, that's
totally sounds like a great tattoo design.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Yeah, I can totally see someday. I never wanted to get a tattoo before, and I was one of those people. I was like, it's not even like I was opposed to tattoos, but it was just like I never could come up had a thing that's like, what could I do, or what could I put on a tattoo that I would actually want to, feel strongly enough. And I always felt like if I were going to get a tattoo, it would be something that is really important, something that really there's a reason behind it. It's not just hey, I like skulls, let's get a skull. No, it's just everybody has a skull. But and I've talked about it on the show, and I don't know if you ever listened to that episode because it's a really old one. But it was after I got hurt in a robbery several years ago, and after that, it was a very life-changing moment that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, I kind of had this idea of it was like, this is something I want to get a tattoo to kind of remind me of. And my wife and I came up with this idea for a tattoo, and it was I got hit over the head with a baseball bat, and it fractured my skull, and I had 8 staples in my head. And so my idea was, I'm going to get a skull with 8 staples in it and a broken baseball bat that says "not that easy."
Yeah.
And that is not what happened. As we were going through, my wife actually found this Dr. Seuss quote. It's a baseball bat with barbed wire wrapped around it, and has this Dr. Seuss quote that I cannot recite all of because it's actually really long, but it's basically going down both sides of the bat, and it kind of ends in I've got a big bat, and without looking down at it, something along the lines of, now my troubles are going to have trouble with me. But it's kind of saying, because again, I'm blanking it all, but it basically amounts to, there's bad things in the world. You're going to have trouble one way or another, and you've got to face it, and you've got to, take it on and get through it, and you'll come out on the other side. And so I've got this big baseball bat, and it's actually down my entire side.
Oh,
So
wow.
I go from not really wanting to get a tattoo to getting a full giant thing down my side with this giant baseball bat and all this text down my ribs. And apparently the ribs are supposed to be the most painful place to get a tattoo. But I get this giant rib piece as my first, and at this point only, tattoo, where before we're like, oh yeah, we might do like a little skull on your shoulder and this, and then it's like, nope, let's just spend all night getting your entire rib cage tattooed.
Yeah.
And I kind of forget it's there sometimes.
Yeah. I just want to ask you quickly, Adam, if you can just quickly refresh your connection to Appearin for me. Is that all right?
Yeah, let's see what happens here.
Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. We'll hopefully hear back from Adam in a second when he pops back. Just need to refresh. Hopefully it's going to work. Oh. I will just put you on the... I don't have a be right back screen. That's probably something that I might need to do. But I'll just put you on the on this one here, and I'll see if I can help Adam. Hang on a second. And we're hopefully back. Look at that. Hey, Adam.
Yay.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
What is a Sunshine Summit with me without technical difficulties?
I don't know, but that is my goal, to not have them. I don't know. I'm just going to move somewhere where there's way better internet, or come and see you. I don't know. I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Phoenix has great internet.
Perfect.
And it's almost like living out there.
Yeah.
So I always say Phoenix is or Arizona is like Australia light. Granted, mainland Australia is next to nothing like New Zealand, but that's a whole other issue.
And apparently there's plenty of sunshine there, so if I did happen to do the whole off-grid thing, we could, I don't know. At this point,
my neighbors have solar just cuz.
Just cuz. Yeah. Thanks for the welcome back, everybody. So you were talking about your tattoo. You got a big, massive tattoo, and that's incredible because, yeah, I was, like I said, too scared. But I think what's really important is that has such a big, that's a huge story behind that behind that podcast. Now podcast on the brain.
That was a very big episode when my wife and I talked about that whole incident on that episode. And that was a thing that we actually avoided talking about. That whole incident we avoided talking about on my podcast when I first started, and then for a while we were doing our podcast together, which we pretty much had to set aside on account of my wife going back to school. But that episode and us sitting down talking about that was actually the first time my wife had actually gotten the entire story and told her side of things when that all happened. And I remember when that happened, that I was getting so much feedback on that episode from everybody, everybody that had heard the story had always kind of gotten the Cliff Notes version. And even my wife, she knew she hadn't gotten everything from me, like all the little details that I kind of got into when I was talking about it. And so as we went through that episode, she was getting choked up, and then her telling her side of the story. And it was kind of a fight just getting through that recording, not crying as recalling that whole thing. And it'd been several years by that point, but bringing all those memories up and all that stuff. It was a really, that incident was very, and that's what we called it. We just referred to it as the incident. Yeah. But that incident was very powerful, and it was life-changing at the time. It was part of the inspiration for us from moving from Texas moving back here to Arizona. And it's kind of living through that, I guess, because it was, at the time, I was hospitalized for several days and things like that. And, the effect that had on us, it was a rough bit, but that whole episode was kind of reliving it was a little bit rough, but we got through it, and here I am. And even that episode itself was a few years ago. So, and that was because this all happened back in 2009. I believe it was around 2009, 2010. Because, head damage aside, my brain is somewhat scrambled anyway. So, but yeah, that was going on 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't think about it. I don't think about it anymore, but it's one of those, like, when I would, at the time, it was still a little bit, I'd mention it and we'd talk about it, and I'd tell the stories, and I'd tell people, like, oh yeah, the security camera footage from what happened to me is on YouTube, and stuff like that. And people would see it and they'd freak out, and they're like, oh my God, that's you. It's like, yeah, that was me.
Wow.
And, so, but
this is kind of a personal question. Is that still out there? Like, I think it's not one of the best ways that people can connect with someone is discovering them.
Well, it was kind of like there were clips of the security camera footage. It doesn't show me being hit, fortunately, but it was one of those, hey, can you identify the people in this video sort of thing?
Yeah.
And so and then it pops up with like the best shots they could get from the security cameras of their faces. One of the guys stared straight into the camera. He got picked up like 2 days later. Because criminals are dumb. But the other guy was smart enough to have his face covered, and he always had his head down and all this stuff. I'd heard he got picked up at a later time.
Okay.
But yeah. But it's one of those, like, oh, here's the news station, they're, hey, we're looking for these people, kind of crime watch thing. And the video's just still up there. But
okay.
Yeah.
The one who connected with the camera, that was a bit dumb, but good, because then he got caught.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And he actually he was apparently already out on probation. So he ended up, probation violation. You're going back now. It's like, oh, we're tacking 5 more years onto it for armed robbery. But I felt like the sentences were light, but, prisons are overcrowded and things like that. And that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. So how did you find, I know it was tough, you said, about discussing that as part of the episode, but how did you come out of that, the other side of doing that episode then? Did it help hearing her side of the story, or?
It was, I guess you could say it was something that we kind of connected. It made our connection about that incident stronger because we hadn't really talked about how we separately felt about it. It was very much here you must have been scared or that, and kind of almost assuming how the other felt and what we were going through, and hearing each other kind of say it out loud, what we were going through and how we were feeling and what we were thinking at the time. And all those little details really helped us. It kind of brought us together more in that particular incident. It was not what we expected to come out of that.
Yeah.
We didn't expect to hear what we heard from each other. And we hadn't realized what we hadn't heard until we heard it. We're like, oh, and like she hadn't heard all of the little details about like everything that, because I went into even like the experience and the ambulance ride to the hospital and things like that. And like this happened literally a half a mile from one hospital, but they had to drive me all the way across town to the trauma center hospital. Yeah. And I'm like, why aren't we going to this one? Like, and apparently ambulances have really bad shock absorbers, and it's a rough ride. And I kind of joke, and because I'm me, I still, even in an episode where we're talking about me literally being assaulted and nearly dying and going through armed robbery and all these things, I'm still cracking jokes because we kind of needed it. It's like, hey, it's getting too serious. We need a stupid joke here. Hold on. But, that whole experience. But
it kind of reminded me of Perry Johnson in that sense, because Perry likes to make jokes and stuff, and he's been going through a rough time, and Perry and Lindsay are just amazing, and you and Rihanna are amazing too. You've got 4 boys.
Yes.
You have, yeah.
So many people refer to me as Superman on that account. They're like, how is it you work at night and you've got this show that you do and you've got 4 boys and like, I just do it. I don't really have a choice. Yeah. Okay, I could not do the podcast, but that's not going to really, that it helps me maintain my sanity, because I think without it, I wouldn't have my connections with you and with so many other people. And I think that it's a big part of what keeps the closest thing to sane that you can describe me as comes from podcasting. Yeah. Yes, Derek, I'm crazy.
I found that podcasting for me is something that it's a connection for me that's helped me keep my sanity too. It's been an outlet, an expressive outlet, creativity, and just a passion project of mine that I can work on for me that's not related to anybody else. And things. And sometimes that is hard because it's hard to keep yourself accountable, in my case, I guess. But yeah, I definitely love it. I'm really passionate about it, and I'm so glad that I've begun this journey a year ago and pushed past the fear and just released it anyway.
Yeah, I know Derek talked about in his 100th episode recently about Sometimes Geek, about the wanting to quit, and I reached out to him and was like, I felt the same way. I suffered even after 3 years. I still suffer from imposter syndrome. Even coming on here, I'm like, I'm here because you're my friend and I totally support anything you want to do. But, and I told you before, if you want to do a Sunshine Summit every week or every month or whatever, I'm down. I will be there for you.
Thank you.
But if I'm the only guest, fine. But I was like, I'm down. But I was like, I have no other, like, I am nobody of any clout or of any importance to somebody wanting me to be around. So I'm surprised by anybody that asks me to be on their show. Anybody that's like, hey, would you want to, do an interview, or do you want to be a part of this? And I'm like, if you're asking, I'm saying yes, because you're crazy enough to ask me, so I'm not going to argue with you. Like, have you listened to my show? There's only one show that I've said no to, and it was strictly because I was like, I know your show, and there's no way that I am going to be a fit for your show at all. And that show also has a lot of requirements, and there's a lot of like contracts, and there's a lot of stuff. Like, you've got to fill out a pre-authorization. There's a lot of stuff behind it. I was like, as I'm going through the forms, I'm like, yeah, no, I've got 4 kids and a dog. This is not going to work. There's going to be interruptions. There's going to be hiccups. There's going to be, the timing, the scheduling. I was like, this isn't going to work. And I'm too much of a schmuck. I'm not going to be a fit for your show. But just about anything else, I'm totally down for. And even with that, I'm my brain, because podcaster brain, I've tinkered around with the idea of doing more shows. And recently I've really thought about doing an interview show, and just so I have more opportunities to talk to people, and more opportunities to talk to you, or to Derek, or Paul from Varmints, or any of my other podcaster friends and connections I've made, that I really don't have a lot of chances to interact with them. And it's like, you know what? Why don't I start a show where I have guests for once, where I'm not just being me talking to the void? And it's, and in that respect, it's more editing practice, because I'd have a lot more production involved in doing that. Yeah. But it's another thing, because podcasters, when you start one show, you want to start 2 or 3 more. And I literally, over the last 2 weeks, have come up with 2 other shows that I want to start. And I'm like, oh, this would be a great idea for a podcast. But my brain. See how you ask one question and I completely turned it into something completely different? That's my brain.
But I'm glad that you got to the point where you said about your idea for wanting to connect with other people and have them as guests on the show, because it's been coming up a lot lately about collaborating with people. And like Derek was our first guest yesterday, and has now got Rolling Misadventures, where he's back collaborating with people. I've enjoyed having a few guests on my podcast, both on the Sunshine and the PowerCut episodes. This week of live streams is an incredible way, and I'm lucky that I have this opportunity to connect with everybody via video. And I know that doesn't happen often. And in one of your episodes, I think it was the latest one, you mentioned about, because I was just on Elisa Lucas's podcast, Best Forevers, and Elisa there mentioned that we kind of catch up once a month. But I want to preface that with, it's something that we kind of have to book in. Like, sometimes whether it's the friendship thing or whatever, the connections that you have that you want to take further or whatever, they do need a bit of time, and you kind of, sometimes it helps to book them in to make sure that they do happen. Otherwise life goes past, because we're really busy. We're doing a lot of things. You do incredible amounts of things. I don't know how you do it. So yeah, and I think that I'm lucky for this event, and I'm grateful that you're here. And I think that having guests on it adds a different element to it. Yeah, it is editing. I like editing just my own audio, but yeah, it's that reaching out and hearing from people and just having that connection again with them. And kind of like also in your episode you said about connections, like there are people at work and you see them at work and they're work people, and then you come home and you've got your family and you've kind of got separate things for different people. And I think that's totally fine. I think that it's whatever works for each person. I mean, I was talking to you before we started this live stream that when I was at the Podcast Brunch Club in Wellington recently, our sort of center around us of people that we can form really close connections with us, probably really small. It's like the army, where you've got like your little unit or something, and then it sort of branches out and that group gets bigger, and you might know of them, but you don't know them as closely as you would the guy standing next to you out in the field, So I think connections don't have to be deep. like for the Sunshine Summit, a lot of them have been about friendships or relationships or things, but also like in the last one about connecting with learning and content and things that he's developing skills as well. So there's different types of connections. So yeah, that was a long spiel.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many different types of connections and so many ways you can connect with people. And yeah, I mean, for us, ours is very much just we connected and became really good friends because you're awesome. And for whatever reason, you put up with me. But because you're awesome, you choose to be my friend. I still think you might need to have your head examined, but that's whatever.
Thanks, Adam. But, can't get that checked out.
Yeah, exactly. You might, I know I've got head trauma, but, you want to hang out with me, so there's got to be something wrong with you. I tell my wife the same thing. So it's like, you married me. The hell? You chose to have children with me. But I get low self-esteem. It's all an act.
Yeah.
I tell the guys at work when I did an episode about, I said, not that big an a-hole. And I think it actually came out of the last Sunshine Summit and the hashtag nice guy Adam movement that kind of came out of that. And it was funny because everybody at work was like, do they know you? Because you're like huge a-hole. That's just and everybody. And it was kind of, there's that whole work-home separation. But it was really funny that everybody kind of that sees me differently. But I was like, yeah, but it's different facets of my character. But at the same time, being the sort of snarky one-liners and making jokes and things like that and giving everybody crap and all that. I'm like, yeah, all this stuff, everything you guys see, there's all this joking, this is all just an act. This is all false confidence. And I said, it's like, no, I've got like serious like confidence issues and low self-esteem. Like, seriously, dude? You have low self-esteem, dude. This is a whole thing of work, Adam, everywhere else in the world, Adam. Yeah. And I've got hashtag nice guy a-hole. I think I described Doug from Who's Right the same way. but
I managed to get I managed to get a hashtag nice guy Adam in there, and so did the eldest bro. So thank you, eldest, for that. Yeah. Anthony said that most podcasters did need their heads checked. Lol. A
little bit, yeah. But it's an outlet to get out our pretend confidence. I've said it before. I'm much more confident behind a microphone than I am out in the world. But at the same time, once you pull my string, you're not going to shut me up. And even if it's just, I keep talking and rambling just because I'm in kind of an uncomfortable mindset. It's like, man, I'm really awkward right now. I'm just going to keep talking until somebody takes the spotlight off of me. Somebody please take the spotlight off of me. Shut up. Sorry. But yeah, like right now, I can't look at myself. I'm not looking at myself because I realize I'm a dork. I'm not going to look at myself. And it was even in the Discord server the other day. Who else is nervous about the Sunshine Summit? Like, it's a video. I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And so, I get nervous anytime I'm on camera. I very, very rarely show my face for things. I don't take selfies. It was really awkward in the storms a couple of, like last week when the monsoons and everything that I've been talking about endlessly on the show, because in Arizona, the weather is something. The weather happened. Oh my God, you've got to talk about it. But when all that, oh my God, there's weather. It's not just 110 degrees outside. It's raining. There's water falling from the sky. It's a miracle. But all of that happened. So I actually did a Instagram story of like me out in the storm and hair blowing, and look at the sky is brown from all the dust. Look at the storm, and you almost see my face in there. And so, but that's the very rarely I don't consider myself especially photogenic, and so I'm like, I don't do video stuff. I every time I think about doing video stuff or a Facebook Live or doing one of it's like nah.
Mhm.
And then I look at the camera and I'm like, never mind. I'll stick with an audio show.
There is a comfort by being in front of a microphone and being able to get confidence that way. I know it is hard being on video. I am not the most terribly confident person either. I might come across that way, but I'm just pushing through because I want to achieve something. And I know that you, back in March, it was the same, but you've grown a lot of confidence in the time that I've known you, and you have pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone. You have made some new connections, and you are now doing audio voice productions and connecting with a bunch of different people. And so hats off to you, Adam. You're doing an amazing job at either faking it till you make it or just pushing through or whatever it is that you're doing. It's really, really awesome.
Bandana's off to me, except it's hiding that my hair is super frizzy right now.
Yeah. Anthony said that's why your solo podcast works, and Eldest said that it has been crazy this past week. The weather has been very crazy where you are. We've had...
Yeah, it's ugly.
Yeah. We've had some heavy frosts here this week, which is kind of like it feels like winter, but I'm like, really, it should be coming into spring soon. I'm desperately hanging out for spring. Yeah, and Eldest said it's so dusty you can't see the car 10 feet in front of you. He likes being behind the camera. So
yeah.
They've got a hashtag.
Better looking people and more confident people, or at least better at faking on-camera confidence than me.
Well, you're here. You showed up, and you haven't tried to hide it, so thank you very much. And they've got the hashtag own it on camera.
Nah.
Not going to run with that one.
I'll stay on the microphone. I came from a radio family, not a TV family.
Cool. Well, I want to say a huge thank you, Adam, for being here for the second time for the Sunshine Summit. It's been amazing this year that I've known you. Like I said, your confidence has grown. You've made new connections. I'm entirely grateful for our connection because you have supported everything that I've done. You've listened to my podcast. You've shared it. You've recommended it like you do for other podcasts that you want to share with people. You bought merch from my merch store, so thank you so much. I didn't send it to you. You paid for it out of your own pocket, so thank you, and thank you for sending me the mug too. I do love it, and yeah, you're just an incredible person that I hope more people get to know in whatever that you're doing, because you are worth knowing.
Thank you. I know you were, saying you were concerned about, how like the effect of, everything you've got going on in your life, and you feel like you haven't been able to be as supportive of people, especially recently. I mean, you've had so much stuff go on in your life this year that you felt like you couldn't, like you weren't as supportive, and and like me saying I'm a bad friend, and it's because my brain. And you feeling the same way. Like, you are awesome, and whatever you do, there's going to be people there to support you because everybody loves you because you're awesome. And it's like, I'm some schmuck with a ponytail, but you're Heather. You're Heather from Sunshine and PowerCuts, and everybody knows you and everybody loves you. And this is all for you. We are here for you. We are all the 12 of us are here because we all love you. And that sounds bad when I put a number on it, but all of us that are here for I would not get 12, so don't worry. I would not get my family. So it's all right.
Andrew said ponytails mean you like to party. So today, thank you for being here.
Not at all.
Well,
not at all. I got a stiff cup of coffee here.
Thank you for being here for my party, for the Sunshine Summit, for celebrating connections, and for celebrating my first podversary of the Sunshine and PowerCuts podcast. I appreciate you so much, Adam. It's been awesome catching up with you today and hanging out, and we do have to make it a thing that we do because it's important.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, can you please tell everyone where they can find you and find Odd Dad Out Voice Productions?
So, my podcast is at oddadoutpodcast.com. You can hit me up Facebook and Twitter, and I'm even on Instagram. It's at oddadout. I don't have a website built for Odd Dad Out Voice Productions yet, but there is a Twitter at ODO Voice Pro, because I've got to remember it. Mm-hmm. Twitter is at ODO Voice Pro and ODOVoicePro@gmail.com. And eventually, I need to get around to building that website. I have a hard enough time building the other one, so I have to. But I'm gonna get it there. It's one of those things that I'm saving up the money that I'm earning editing so that I can build the website and I can do the things and buy the microphones and the equipment I need to start doing the voiceover stuff that I really want to do, and all the other things. And I want to use this business to build on itself, basically. But baby steps.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's all part of the journey. And I just want to say that your website that you have now for Odd Dad Out is new. I think that was new after the Sunshine Summit too, and it looks amazing. You've done an incredible job with it. It's very tidy and looks very impressive. So congrats on that one. Or was it at the Sunshine Summit when you launched it? I can't remember if we celebrated it then.
I think it was. I
launched.
Don't remember. I know it launched just around the time of my 100th episode, which I think was right around that time.
Okay.
So I know I launched right at my 100th episode, which I believe that was in March or it was in May.
Yeah.
One of them M months.
Yeah. Cool.
I wasn't there, but yeah.
One of them. Thanks again, Adam. And thank you to everybody who came by the live chat today. It was awesome to have you there. Please do go ahead and check out Adam. He's amazing. He does have great recommendations for other podcasts to listen to, but he also shares his rants and the jackass of the week. So that's a bit of a fun segment to have to listen to. So yeah, thanks again, Adam. And that wraps up today, which is the end of day 2 of the Sunshine Summit. We will be back tomorrow with Elisa Lucas from Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits. So thanks, Adam. See you later.
Bye.
Yeah. So, just while I'm here on this screen, I just want to let you guys know that those are the logos that Adam was talking about. The one for Odd Dad Out and the one on the right, which is Audio Voice Productions. So yeah, very creative, amazing friend. And yeah, thank you so much for being here, for celebrating the podversary of Sunshine and PowerCuts. I appreciate you so much. I look forward to seeing everybody again tomorrow for day 3. Thank you for joining us.